Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. You know how much you love success strategies, and today we're going to unpack some powerful ideas on exactly that. We're diving into the magic of thinking big.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, this book is packed with timeless wisdom about reaching your goals, and I've got some pretty fascinating excerpts to share with you. Like right off the bat, it hits you with this concept. If you believe you can succeed, you're already halfway there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Such a powerful statement.
It is. It really emphasizes just how much our beliefs can shape our reality.
It really does. And it goes beyond just positive thinking. It's about cultivating this really deep, unshakable conviction in your ability to achieve what you set out to do.
I think they actually call it like a burning desire
Yeah,
in the book
absolutely.
to really achieve what you want.
Yeah, and they have some really great stories in there
Oh, they do.
that illustrate this point.
Like that one about young Davy,
Yes.
who had this unwavering belief that he was going to be a professor of happiness. And even at such a young age,
It's amazing.
it's like he had this clarity of vision.
I know. And it just shows you how important it is to nurture those ambitious dreams.
Yes.
No matter how unconventional they might seem to others.
Totally. It reminds me of the thermostat analogy they use in the book,
Oh, yeah.
where belief is like setting the limit
The limit.
on what we can achieve. So if we set our thermostat low, we're kind of stuck with those limited results. But if we crank it up high, we open ourselves up to a whole world of possibilities.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
It's so simple, but it makes so much sense.
it does. It's like instead of aiming for the foothills, we should be setting our sights on the mountaintop. But what about those times when we find ourselves thinking, I'm too old for this,
Yeah.
or I just don't have the talent? Those kind of doubts that creep in.
Yeah, the book calls those excuses.
Right.
Excusitis.
Excusitis.
Yeah, it's like a disease
It is.
of the mind that prevents us from reaching our full potential.
And they break down these excuses like one by one. They really debunk them, which is pretty cool. Like they have that story about the businessman who wanted to go back to school, but he was convinced that he was too old at 40.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is,
It's-
especially as we get older.
Society tells us that.
Yeah.
There's a certain age where you're supposed to have it all figured out.
Right.
And you're not supposed to try new things.
But the book challenges that
They do.
directly.
They give a lot of examples of people who achieve amazing things
Later in life,
later in life, yeah.
like that story of the man who became a minister at 45
Right.
and another who got his college degree at 51.
Exactly.
It's inspiring.
It's never too late
It's never too late.
to pursue those passions.
Exactly. It's like age is just a number.
It really is.
Don't let it define your potential. And speaking of excuses, they also talk about intelligence and how it's not the be-all and end-all of success.
Right. It's not just about having a high IQ.
Yeah.
You know?
They have that story of that young executive
Yeah.
who let his average IQ score
Totally hold them back.
hold him back.
Yeah.
It's like he was putting a limit on himself
Yes.
based on this number. But isn't resourcefulness more valuable in a lot of situations
Often much more valuable,
than just raw intelligence?
especially in today's world.
Like being able to find the information you need quickly,
Yes.
effectively.
Being able to connect the dots.
That's like a superpower.
It is.
And it's so funny because they use that example of Henry Ford, who famously said, I can find a man in 5 minutes who knows the answer to any question I ask him.
Exactly.
So it's about leveraging your network,
Yes.
being resourceful,
Absolutely.
knowing where to find the information.
It's not about having it all memorized. It's
Yeah.
about knowing where to look.
Which brings us to another common excuse, bad luck.
Oh, yes.
But the book kind of turns that on its head and says what we often perceive as luck is actually the result of hard work
And preparation.
and preparation.
Yeah.
It's like we see the success, but we don't see all the effort that went into it.
oh,
Like
yeah.
that story of the salesman who attributed his colleague's success to luck.
Just pure luck.
Pure luck, yeah. But he completely overlooked the months of effort that his colleague had put in
Behind the scenes.
behind the scenes. So ditch the excuses, right? But what about fear? That feeling that can just stop us before we even start.
Yeah, fear's a big one.
How do we overcome that?
Well, that's where the next section of the book comes in. Build confidence and destroy fear.
I like that title.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
And the message is clear action is the antidote to fear.
Oh, action. So
Yes.
we shouldn't sit there and wait or procrastinate
Take action.
because that just amplifies the fear.
Exactly.
And they use that vivid example of the Navy recruits having to jump off the high dive.
You're just thrown in the deep end.
Literally. But
Yeah.
it's showing how taking action, even when you're terrified,
Yeah.
is the best way to conquer that fear.
Absolutely.
It's like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Just do it.
Just do it. But they also talk about our thoughts.
Yes.
And how we can control them.
Yes. Controlling your thoughts is so important.
It's like they describe our minds as this memory bank
Yeah.
where we can choose what we deposit
And what we withdraw.
and withdraw. And instead of dwelling on negative experiences, we can choose to withdraw those positive, empowering memories.
Yes. Focus on the good stuff.
Yeah, focus on the good stuff.
Instead of dwelling on the negative.
So we're kind of training our minds
Yeah.
to focus on what empowers us
Absolutely.
rather than what holds us back.
It's a choice.
It is. Speaking of influences, they talk about small thinking
Yes.
and how we're constantly bombarded with these messages that limit our potential.
It's all around us.
It is.
It's in the media. It's in our conversations.
Yeah, it's like this constant barrage of negativity.
Yes.
Telling us to settle for mediocrity. And they actually suggest being very selective about the information we consume.
Yes. Be mindful.
And even the company we keep.
Be mindful of who you're spending your time with.
Right.
Because they can either lift you up
Or drag you down.
or drag you down.
Right.
It's like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's a good point. So choose wisely.
Yes.
They even talk about choosing friends with diverse viewpoints
Oh, I love that.
to broaden our perspective.
Yes.
Kind of like what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
We're challenging each other's ideas,
We are.
learning from each other,
And growing.
and growing. But they do warn against what they call thought poison.
Thought poison.
Yeah, like gossip and negativity.
You stay away from that.
That can just drag us down
It can really cloud your judgment.
and cloud our judgment. So instead, they recommend focusing on the positive
Yes.
and looking for the good in others.
Absolutely.
And they use this interesting phrase, going first class.
Oh, yes.
Now, I don't know if they mean that literally, like always flying first class.
No, it's not about the material things.
Okay.
It's about having a first-class mindset.
A first class mindset.
Okay. It's about choosing quality over quantity. Investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with things that inspire you.
So creating an environment that nurtures our growth
Exactly.
and fuels those aspirations.
Yes.
So whether that's curating a library of inspiring books, connecting with mentors,
Yes.
or choosing to be in spaces that just uplift us.
Absolutely.
It's about being intentional
It is.
with the influences we allow into our lives.
I love that word, intentional.
Yeah,
It's so powerful.
it is. And speaking of influences, the book highlights how our attitudes act like mirrors of our minds,
Yes.
directly impacting our actions and how others perceive us.
We're constantly sending out signals
We are.
with our body language,
Yes.
our facial
Our
expressions,
tone of voice.
our tone of voice, everything.
Yeah, it's like we're broadcasting our inner state to the world,
We are.
whether we realize it or not.
And people are picking up on those signals,
We are.
whether they're conscious of it or not.
That's so interesting.
And so the book really emphasizes the importance of having a positive and enthusiastic attitude.
Especially if you're in a leadership position.
Especially.
Yeah, and they give that great example of the 2 Red Cross Red captains.
Oh, yes.
One was unenthusiastic, and the other was just like so passionate and engaging. And guess who had more success?
The passionate one, of course.
Of course.
Enthusiasm is contagious.
It is.
It draws people in.
Yeah, it's like you can't help but be drawn to someone who's genuinely excited about something.
Exactly.
And they even suggest a simple but powerful technique for cultivating enthusiasm.
Tell me.
Dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
So if you find yourself disinterested in something, learn more about it.
Yes.
Spark your curiosity.
Find that little nugget
Ignite your passion.
that sparks your interest.
And this applies to people as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Dig deeper to understand their passions and find that common ground.
No, about connection.
It is. And that reminds me of how the book talks about making people feel important,
Yeah.
which is such a powerful way to win friends and influence others.
Huge.
It's about genuinely valuing them,
Yes.
respecting them.
Remembering their names.
Yes.
Listening to them.
Showing appreciation.
Showing appreciation.
It's about shifting the focus
from yourself.
from ourselves to others.
To others, yes.
And they use that great example of the gas station
Yeah.
that thrived because of its exceptional customer service.
It's a great story.
It is. It's a reminder that in today's world, putting service first can really set you apart.
It can.
from the competition.
Absolutely.
It's like all these principles are pointing towards fostering a mindset of abundance and generosity,
Yes.
both towards ourselves and others.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And that actually segues perfectly into the next section of the book, How to Think Like a Leader.
Oh, yes.
I love this section.
I do too. I found their concept of trading minds with the people you want to influence to be so insightful
Yes, it's about empathy.
and understanding where other people are coming from.
It's about stepping outside our own limited perspectives.
Yes.
And seeing things from different angles.
Absolutely.
And they have this great example of this copywriter who was creating all these TV commercials,
Yes.
but they weren't very effective
They weren't working.
because he was failing to consider the perspective of his target audience,
Which was
parents and children.
parents and children, yes.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap of assuming
Yeah,
that everyone thinks like we do,
it is.
but they don't.
I doubt.
And this applies to so many different situations. Leading a team at work,
Yeah.
influencing decisions in our communities,
Yes.
even navigating family dynamics.
Absolutely.
It's about taking that time
Mm.
to really understand where the other person is coming from.
Yes.
And they also highlight the importance of being human,
Yes.
like recognizing that people are not just cogs in a machine.
They have lives outside of work.
Yes.
They have families.
They have feelings.
They have dreams.
Yeah.
And they share that story of the executive who earned the respect and loyalty of his team by going above and beyond for them.
Yes. By showing that he cared.
By showing that he cared,
Yeah.
like helping them find housing, celebrating their birthdays.
Just little
Little things.
that make a big difference.
Yeah, it's about creating a culture of trust and loyalty
Yes.
by treating people with respect and recognizing their needs outside of work.
It's about seeing the whole person.
Exactly. And then there's this emphasis on thinking progress.
Oh, yes.
It's like constantly striving to improve, to innovate,
to
grow, to push for positive change.
Leaders have a forward-thinking mindset.
Yes.
They're always looking for ways to do better.
It's like a culture of continuous improvement,
Absolutely.
both for ourselves
And for those around us.
and those around us. And it's inspiring to think about how these principles can be applied to all areas of life,
oh, yes.
from personal relationships to community involvement to our careers.
It's a holistic approach to success. And while a lot of the focus is on outward leadership, the book also stresses the importance of self-reflection,
Yes.
taking time out to confer with yourself.
Yes. They believe that effective leaders need solitude to
Yes.
think deeply,
To process their experiences,
to develop strategic thinking.
to connect with their inner wisdom.
And they even mention how many great leaders throughout history,
Yeah.
from spiritual figures to political leaders, made it a practice to spend time alone in contemplation.
It's a powerful practice,
It is.
and it's often overlooked.
Because we live in such a busy world.
We do.
But it's so important
It is.
to make time for that inner reflection.
Because if we don't, we can start to fear our own thoughts,
That's a good point.
and that can prevent us from reaching our full potential.
So effective leadership involves a balance of outward focus,
Yes, connecting with others,
inspiring them,
guiding them,
guiding them towards progress, and inward focus.
cultivating inner strength.
And wisdom. It's a continuous journey
It is.
of growth and development.
And it reminds me of the book's last section on turning defeat into victory,
Oh, yes.
because setbacks and failures are inevitable parts of life.
They are.
But it's not about avoiding them. It's about how we respond to them.
Right.
People who think big don't let defeat define them.
Yeah.
They use it as fuel
As fuel.
for learning and growth.
So they view those setbacks as valuable lessons.
Yes.
And they analyze what went wrong.
So they can avoid making the same mistakes again.
I love how they frame it. Defeat is a state of mind. Nothing more.
It's powerful.
It is.
It's a
Oh,
choice.
it's choice.
How you're going to view that defeat.
Right.
Are you going to let it crush you? Or are you going to learn from it
And grow from it.
and come back stronger?
So it's about choosing to focus on the possibility of victory, even when facing challenges.
Yes.
And they offer some practical strategies for
Big.
reframing defeat.
Such as blending persistence with experimentation.
So stay committed to your goals, but be willing to adapt. If your initial approach isn't working,
Yes. Be flexible.
be flexible.
But persistent.
They even suggest backing off.
And starting afresh. When you
Sometimes,
feel stuck,
when you feel stuck,
yeah, taking a step back
can reveal solutions.
that you might have overlooked.
It's like taking a step back to assess the situation before forging ahead.
Exactly.
And they remind us that there's always a silver lining,
Always.
even in the most challenging situations.
Look for it.
Look forward.
And use it as fuel to propel you forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
And speaking of moving forward, the book also delves into the power of setting goals.
Oh, yes, goals.
Goals are so important.
They're like a roadmap.
They are.
They give you direction.
And they emphasize that our goals should be clear, specific, measurable, and time-bound.
I love that framework.
It's a good framework. And they remind us that the most important thing is not where we are now, but where we want to go.
It's about having that vision
Yes.
for the future.
And they encourage us to break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps. Yes.
They use the analogy of building a house brick by brick,
One step at a time.
one step at a time.
Yes.
Focus on making progress rather than being overwhelmed by the enormity of the entire project.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed
It is.
when you're looking at the big picture.
But if you just break it down
into smaller chunks,
into smaller chunks,
it becomes much more manageable.
they even suggest creating a 2-year goal
Oh, yes.
that outlines specific actions to reach those long-term aspirations.
It's like a roadmap for success.
It is.
But they do remind us that detours and obstacles are inevitable.
They are.
So be flexible.
Be flexible
Adapt your plans as needed
while staying committed
to the destination.
to the destination.
Yes.
Like a GPS
That can recalculate the route.
when you encounter roadblocks.
I love that analogy.
And they end by emphasizing the importance of investing in yourself.
Yes.
Education, new experiences, continually developing your skills and knowledge.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is.
Personal growth never stops.
Hmm.
The magic of thinking big is truly packed with practical advice and inspiring stories that can help transform lives. It's no wonder it's considered a classic.
It's a timeless guide.
To unlocking our potential.
And at its core is this powerful idea: our beliefs shape our reality.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
If we believe we can achieve something, we're far more likely to make it happen.
Our beliefs drive our thoughts, our
Yes.
words, and our actions.
And they even suggest that sometimes our beliefs can be more powerful than actual facts or circumstances.
Yes, they give that great example of the man who was convinced that he had a diseased gallbladder.
Even though,
Multiple x-rays showed it was perfectly healthy.
but his belief was so strong that it manifested in physical symptoms.
It's amazing how powerful the mind is.
It is.
And it's a little bit scary
It is.
if you think about it.
Because if we can believe in negative things to the
Right.
point where
Yeah.
they affect our health, imagine the possibilities when we harness that power for positive change.
That's the key.
It is.
Harnessing that power for good.
But the book doesn't just advocate for blind faith. It emphasizes that belief needs to be paired with action.
Absolutely.
Action is the key to building confidence, overcoming fear, and achieving lasting success.
It creates this incredible cycle of positive reinforcement.
Yes.
Taking action strengthens our belief, which leads to more action, and so on.
It's like a snowball effect.
It is.
The more we do, the more we believe we can do.
Exactly.
I was fascinated by their tips for developing an action habit.
Oh, yes.
They suggest just starting. Even if you don't feel ready or motivated,
Just start.
just start.
It's often the hardest part,
It is.
that initial push.
To get going.
But once you do, the momentum builds
Yeah.
and it becomes
Just
easier.
going.
It's like pushing a heavy object. Yeah. It takes a lot of effort to get it moving at
You
first.
get it started.
But once it's rolling,
It's much easier to keep it going.
exactly.
And they also recommend a mechanical approach to tasks that require mental effort. So instead of waiting for inspiration, you just sit down and start
Yeah,
working.
do it. Just do it.
The act of doing the work can actually spark creativity.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's
It's like priming the pump.
It is.
The more you work at it,
Yeah.
the more ideas start flowing.
Exactly.
And then there's that intriguing phrase they use, the magic of now.
Yes.
They argue that procrastination is a huge obstacle
It
to
is.
success.
It's a killer.
And instead of putting things off, they urge us to seize opportunities. In the present moment,
Yes.
it's about making the most of the time we have, not letting fear or indecision hold us back.
Don't let those things paralyze you.
Take action today to create the future you want.
I love that.
This deep dive into the magic of thinking big has been so insightful.
It has.
We've covered a lot. The power of belief, the importance of action, how to think like a leader, and even turning defeat into victory.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. And it's given me a whole new perspective
Yeah,
on achieving success.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited to apply these principles to my own life. Is there anything else you'd like to share from the book before we wrap up?
I think the most important thing to remember is that you have the power to achieve great things. This book is a reminder that success isn't reserved for a chosen few. It's available to anyone who's willing to cultivate the right mindset and take action.
It's about recognizing that we're not limited by our circumstances, but by our beliefs and our willingness to step outside our comfort zones.
Exactly. And remember to surround yourself with positivity, the people you choose to be around,
Yeah.
the information you consume. Create an environment that supports growth and inspires action.
It's like creating a fertile ground for your dreams to flourish.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And finally, embrace the magic of now. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take action today, right now, to start building the future you desire.
That's great advice. This has been a truly inspiring deep dive. Thank you for guiding us through these incredible insights.
It was my pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you've gained some valuable tools and perspectives to help you achieve your goals. Remember, you have the power within you to create the life you dream of. Until next time, keep thinking big.
And it's like we're training our minds to focus on what empowers us rather than what holds us back.
Instead of dwelling on the negative.
Yeah.
Speaking of influences, though, they talk about how we're constantly bombarded with small thinking, these messages that can really limit our potential.
It's like we're surrounded by it.
We are. It's
Yeah.
in the media. It's in our conversations sometimes.
It's everywhere.
It is.
And it can be really subtle.
It is subtle.
Yeah.
It's like this insidious thing
Yeah.
that creeps
It's like a
in.
constant barrage of negativity
Yeah.
telling us to settle for less.
To play it safe,
Yeah.
don't take risks.
Don't rock the boat.
But the book stresses the importance of being selective
Yes.
about the information we consume
Absolutely.
and even the company we keep.
Yes.
Surround yourself with people who uplift you,
Who inspire you.
who challenge you
Yeah.
to grow.
To be better.
They even suggest choosing friends with diverse viewpoints
Oh, I love that.
to broaden our perspective,
Yeah.
kind of like what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
We're coming from different backgrounds, different experiences,
And we're learning from each other.
and we're learning from each other.
And that's how we grow.
That's how we grow.
It's about challenging those assumptions
It is.
and being open
to new ideas.
to new perspectives.
And on that note, the book warns against thought poison,
Oh, yes.
like gossip,
Negativity,
negativity,
complaining.
all that stuff.
Yeah, stay away from that.
That can really drag us down
They can really cloud your judgment
and cloud our judgment.
and steal your energy.
It does.
Yeah.
Instead, they recommend focusing on the positive
Yes.
and looking for the good in others.
Absolutely.
And they use this interesting phrase, going first class.
Oh, yes. I love that.
No, I wasn't sure if they meant that literally. Like, you know?
Like flying first class all the time?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's not about the material things.
Okay.
It's about having a first-class mindset.
A first class mindset.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
It means choosing quality over quantity.
Yeah.
It means investing in yourself,
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with things that inspire you,
Okay.
that uplift you.
So creating an environment that nurtures our growth
Exactly.
and fuels our aspirations.
Yeah.
So whether that's curating a library of inspiring books,
Yeah.
connecting with mentors,
Absolutely.
or choosing to be in spaces that just uplift us.
Yes.
It's about being intentional
It is.
with the influences we allow into our lives.
Being intentional with your time, your energy, and your attention.
And speaking of influences, the book highlights how our attitudes act like mirrors of our minds,
They do.
directly impacting our actions
They know.
and how others perceive us.
We're constantly sending out signals.
We are,
And
it's our body
Our
language,
facial expressions,
our tone of voice,
our energy.
everything. Yeah, it's like we're broadcasting our inner state to the world,
We are.
whether we realize it or not.
And people are picking up on those signals,
They are.
whether they're conscious of it or not.
And so the book really emphasizes the importance of having a positive an enthusiastic attitude,
Especially if you're in a leadership position.
especially in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And they give that great example of the two Red Cross Drive captains.
Oh, yes.
One was unenthusiastic, and the other was just like so passionate and engaging.
And guess who had more success?
The passionate one, of course.
Of course.
Enthusiasm is contagious.
It is.
It draws people in. You can't help but be drawn to someone who's genuinely excited about something.
Exactly.
And they suggest a simple but powerful technique for cultivating enthusiasm.
What's that?
Dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
So if you find yourself disinterested in something, learn more about it.
Yeah.
Spark your curiosity.
Find that little nugget.
Ignite your passion.
That sparks your interest.
And this applies to people as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Dig deeper to understand their passions.
Yeah.
And find that common ground.
It's all about connection.
It is. And that reminds me of how the book talks about making people feel important,
Oh, yes.
which is such a powerful way to win friends and influence others.
It's huge.
It is.
It's about genuinely valuing them.
Yes.
Respecting them.
Remembering their names.
Yes.
Listening to them.
Showing appreciation.
Showing appreciation. It's
Yeah.
about shifting the focus
From yourself.
from ourselves to others.
To others, yes.
And they use that great example of the gas station that
Yes.
thrived
Yes.
because of its exceptional customer service.
It's a great story.
It is.
It shows you the power of making people feel valued.
And it's a reminder that in today's world, putting service first can really set you apart
It can.
from the competition.
Absolutely.
It seems like all these principles are pointing towards fostering a mindset of abundance and generosity, both towards ourselves
and others.
and others.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And that actually segues perfectly into the next section of the book, How to Think Like a Leader.
Oh, yes.
I love this section. It's a fantastic section.
And their concept of trading minds with the people you want to influence is brilliant.
It is.
Like, to be an effective leader, you really have to step outside your own limited perspective
Exactly.
and see things from different angles.
Yes, it's about empathy.
It is.
Truly understanding where others are coming from.
They share a great example of a copywriter
Yes.
who was creating all these TV commercials,
Yeah.
but they weren't effective
They weren't working.
because he was failing to consider the perspective of his target audience,
Which was
parents and children.
like parents and children.
And it's so easy to fall into that trap
It is.
of assuming that everyone thinks like we do,
We all do it.
but they don't.
We have to remember that everyone has their own unique perspective.
And this principle applies to so many situations. Leading a team at work, influencing decisions in our communities, even navigating family dynamics.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about taking that time to really understand where the other person is coming from.
Yeah. And to see the world through their eyes.
They also highlight the importance of being human,
Yes.
recognizing that people are not just cogs in a machine.
They're not robots.
They're not.
They have feelings.
And they share that story of the executive who earned the respect and loyalty of his team by going above and beyond for them.
Yeah, by showing that he cared
Showing that he cared.
about them as people.
Like helping them find housing.
Yes.
Celebrating their birthdays.
Just those little things.
These little things.
That can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's about creating a culture of trust and loyalty.
Absolutely.
By treating people with respect.
And recognizing their needs.
And recognizing their needs outside of work.
Yeah, seeing the whole person.
Exactly. And then there's this emphasis on thinking progress.
Yeah.
Like constantly striving to improve.
To grow.
To evolve.
The push for positive change.
Leaders have that forward-thinking mindset.
Yes.
They're always looking for ways to do better.
To be better.
To be better.
It's a culture of continuous improvement.
Absolutely.
Both for ourselves
And for those around us.
and those around us. And it's inspiring to think about how these principles can be applied to all areas of life.
Oh, yes.
Our personal relationships,
Yeah.
our community involvement, our careers.
It's a holistic approach to success.
It is.
It's not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become
I like that.
in the process.
And that kind of brings us full circle to that idea of believing in ourselves
It does.
and our ability to make a difference.
Yeah, because ultimately, success is an inside job.
It is.
It starts with our thoughts, our beliefs, and our attitudes.
Well, this deep dive has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
My pleasure. And to all of our listeners out there, we hope you found this exploration of the magic of thinking big to be both insightful and inspiring. Remember, you have the power within you to achieve anything you set your mind to. So keep thinking big, keep believing in yourself, and keep taking action. Until next time, I'm